Have you ever felt trapped by someone else's words? Like every, "Can you help me?" slowly steals your time, your energy, your peace. Most people don't even realize this, but behind kind questions often hides control. This video will teach you how to protect your mind and your soul from silent manipulation. Every day we are enveloped by a stream of words, countless phrases, appeals, and requests. People around us ask questions, seek advice, need support and participation. However, a follower of Stoicism does not perceive life superficially. They develop the ability to look deeper, to sense when psychological pressure, manipulative approaches, or attempts to invade their personal space hide behind ordinary words. True maturity lies not in striving to respond to every call, but in the ability to distinguish what truly deserves attention from what merely distracts from the soul as true purpose. Stoic philosophy clearly states, your soul is your impregnable fortress, and inner harmony is life's priceless treasure. Everything that threatens this harmony should be met not with irritation, not with fear, but with conscious tranquility and firm boundaries. It happens that behind friendly words lurks an invisible contract. You owe me, you must be available, you dare not refuse. And by accepting these terms, you gradually begin to live someone else's life. Not every question sounds like a command. Some are clothed in gentleness, yet penetrate to the very core. They are elusive, almost imperceptible, but internal division begins with them. And you increasingly sacrifice your desires, postpone personal matters, existing in anticipation of others' needs. This is how an imperceptible leakage of life energy occurs. Today, it's important for me to teach you to recognize such questions before they penetrate your heart, because each one is a signal, and timely recognition will allow you to preserve what is most important, yourself. It all begins with one simple, seemingly benevolent question. Will you help me deal with my problem? Initially, this sounds harmless. Someone turns to you, and you, as a kind and responsive person, feel the desire to respond. But a Stoic doesn't act mechanically. They pause, look deeper, ask themselves, whose problem is this really? Do I notice in this person a desire for independence? Or is this simply a habit of shifting difficulties onto others' shoulders? Everyone, this life path is their personal responsibility. And Stoics understood, helping doesn't always mean intervening. Real help is only possible where a person is ready to take on the labor of change. Otherwise, you transform not into a helper, but into a crutch, without which the person doesn't even try to walk independently. Acting out of guilt or fear of others' opinions, you condemn yourself to constantly violating personal boundaries. However, your mental equilibrium is no less significant than someone else's discomfort. A Stoic isn't too afraid to say no when they sense potential exploitation. They understand a gentle word can create dependency if not based on common sense. How many times in life have you rushed to help, although internally you resist it? How many times have you solved others' problems at the cost of your own affairs, plans, health? And how many times afterward did you feel that you were perceived not as a person, but as a tool? Someone who sincerely respects you wants to ask you to sacrifice yourself. They seek support, but don't to demand rescue. And those who turn you into a prop will return again and again until you collapse. Stoic wisdom says, don't rush to offer help. Make sure you read not substituting yourself for the path a person should walk independently. Help when it comes from abundance, not from a sense of duty. Then you don't lose yourself. Then your help is light, not chains. If you feel that helping depletes rather than strengthens, this is not your battle. Stop, take a deep breath, return to yourself. You are not obligated to determine someone else's fate. You must be the master of your own. But usually, those who shift their difficulties onto us don't to limit themselves to a single request. When we agree to help, they take the next step, concerning not just effort, but resources. And the next question that often comes from them is even simpler than the previous one. But behind this simplicity hides much more. Will you lend me some money? This question sounds casual, sometimes even in passing, without tension, with such intonation as if it is a trifle, as if everyone does this. And if you reaccustom to being reliable, responsive, you feel tempted to answer affirmatively. But Stoic wisdom requires stopping, thinking unhurriedly not about how easy this is for you, but about the essence of what is happening. Because money isn't just a resource. It is a symbol of responsibility, work, and self-respect. A Stoic understands every unconsidered yes is a potential crack in the fortress of the inner world. When providing a loan, especially without clearly stated conditions, you giving away not just material resources. You giving away a piece of yourself, your lifetime, applied efforts, sleepless nights filled with worry. Such action can be followed by anxiety, unspoken words, feelings of resentment. And often the result is the complete destruction of relationships. How many instances in your life when you lent money and remained in waiting? How many times have you felt uncomfortable when someone deliberately avoided talking about repayment? And how many times have you observed how a person makes absolutely no effort to fulfill their obligations? Because they see you not as a complete person, but merely as a tool for solving their problems? You be strong. It is not difficult for you. It will always help out. All these phrases aren't signs of gratitude, but skillfully disguised exploitation of your kindness. Stoic philosophy teaches generosity, but not at the expense of sound judgment. Help is truly valuable when it doesn't cause internal discord. When your generosity comes from peace of mind, not from fear of judgment. When you give while maintaining your own integrity. If, when responding to a request, you instantly feel tightness in your chest, anxiety, or irritation, that is the genuine answer. This is not your path, not your obligation. Now ask yourself, if you were in a difficult situation, would this person show the same willingness to help? Would they respond with goodness for goodness, or would they be the first to turn away? Relationships based on one-sided benefit lack a solid foundation. A Stoic doesn't flourish where they revalued for financial capabilities rather than strength of spirit, soul qualities, and firm principles. And one more significant rule: when you provide a loan, you open access not only to your wallet but also to your personal space. And you have every right not to open this door, because your inner world is not public territory. It is a sacred place. And entrance to it is possible only with proper respect. Here is the basic principle. Help if your soul is at peace. Refuse if you feel coercion. Protect what is yours and preserve yourself. For maturity doesn't lie in striving to save everyone around you. Maturity is the ability not to sacrifice your inner peace. When you once agree to become a source of problem solving, people begin to perceive you as a universal remedy for any difficulties. As someone who will certainly cope, settle everything, provide support, even if it is not among your duties. And then the next question arises, concerning neither finances nor help, but about interfering in a sphere where your presence isn't necessary at all. Could you settle our family disagreements? On the surface, such a request sounds like recognition of your authority, your wisdom, your status in the family circle. However, a true Stoic does not indulge in illusions. They realize that behind such requests often lies the desire to transfer responsibility for one's own disagreements to another. You are invited as an outside observer. You are drawn in as a protective barrier, a mediator, a kind of instrument designed to bring harmony where no one truly strives to achieve it. Stoic philosophy asserts each individual must independently overcome their life path. Even if this path includes contradictions, even if it is painful, tense, and extended over time. By getting involved in someone else's dispute, you do not resolve its essence. You take on someone else's guilt, someone else's immaturity, someone else's helplessness. And this does not demonstrate strength. This results in the loss of your own peace of mind. How many situations have you experienced, finding yourself between two opposing sides? How many attempts have you made to maintain neutrality, but as a result found yourself guilty before all participants? After all, everyone involved in the confrontation expects you to accept precisely their position. And if this doesn't happen, psychological pressure begins, reproaches, expressions of dissatisfaction, and finally, resentment at the lack of support from you. A Stoic does not allow their inner world to become a battlefield for someone else's war. They reject the role of arbitrator in a conflict they did not initiate. Harmony is possible exclusively where each participant is ready to take responsibility for themselves. Not where a third party appears with noble intentions and sacrifices their peace so that someone else can avoid the necessity of change. If you are asked to reconcile, settle a situation, provide explanations, ask yourself, is this truly help, or a simple way to free others from the need to mature? Often people strive not for peace, but for someone to take on their emotional pain, grievances, their uncomfortable dialogues. And a follower of Stoicism understands, you cannot heal someone else's soul by betraying your own. How many family bonds are destroyed not because of conflicts, but because of unreasonable expectations? Inheritance issues, feelings of jealousy, long-standing grudges, and at the epicenter of all this are those who simply sought peace. But a Stoic does not allow themselves to be drawn in. They are able to say, I support you, but I am not a means of struggle. I feel love for you, but your clashes are not my battle. Such a decision requires inner courage, since it is much easier to become involved than to refuse participation. But it is much more correct to preserve inner harmony than to be torn apart by others' demands. And if you have already experienced emotional exhaustion trying to help everyone around you, perhaps it is time to return to yourself. You deserve to exist without scandals, without investigations, without the burden you are not obligated to carry. However, when you finally distance yourself from outside conflicts and refuse to perform a peacekeeping mission, some go even further. They ask for your intervention. They demand your transformation. To adapt, to restructure your inner essence for their convenience. And here emerges an expression behind which hides one of the most traumatizing forms of manipulation. Why not? Do you want to change for us? It is formulated as a question, but in essence represents a demand. It lacks respect, containing only expectations that you will betray your own nature for someone else's comfort. A follower of Stoicism doesn't yield to such demands. They know that change is a sacred internal process that should occur at the command of one's own mind and heart, not by someone else's whim. A person is not clay in the hands of those around them. They are the result of their own life path, numerous victories, defeats, decisions made. Every characteristic trait, every habit, every aspect of personality was formed over years. And when someone appears and says, become different so we can be more comfortable, this isn't a request. This is an invasion. This is a denial of your personality, your autonomy, and freedom of existence. A follower of Stoicism doesn't resist growth. They are open to changes if these make them stronger, purer, freer. But they never transform under external pressure, because change dictated by fear of losing love, recognition, or approval. This isn't development. This is self-destruction. This is the gradual erasure of one's own personality for the sake of others' peace of mind. How many people have lost their individuality by agreeing to such conditions? How many have abandoned their dreams, views, life preferences, just to not interfere, not cause irritation, to please others? A Stoic chooses a different path. They understand, if you ask to become different for someone's convenience, this is not an expression of love. This is a form of control. You are not obligated to change your own values if they don't harm anyone. You don't have to become quieter, less noticeable, more obedient just because someone nearby fears your sincerity, freedom, or inner strength. Your authenticity is not a burden, but a treasure. And those who truly stand beside you will accept this treasure, not try to hide it behind a mask of convenience. A Stoic doesn't live in fear of losing those for whom they are inconvenient. They realize everything that depends on demands to change is impermanent. Everything that requires sacrificing yourself leads to inner emptiness. Therefore, if you hear, why can you become different for us? Ask yourself, did they accept you as you are? Why must your existence be a constant compromise? And if there is no answer, that itself is the answer. But when the attempt to change you fails, the last and most dangerous form of pressure emerges. It hides behind words about love, closeness, about feelings. But behind these words lurks sophisticated blackmail, targeting the most vulnerable, your kindness and heartfulness. This isn't a request. This is a trap pulling you to where you must betray yourself again. It sounds like this. 1. You do this for me if you love me? This is one of the most insidious questions one can hear. It envelops you. It sounds gentle, almost touching, and precisely because of this, it is so dangerous. A Stoic understands. Love is not a tool. It's not a currency that can be exchanged for concessions, silence, denial of self. And when you re-offer to prove your feelings through betrayal of your own will, this is no longer love, but manipulation. Such phrases operate through awakening guilt. You re-forced to choose whether you submit to someone else, this will, or you supposedly prove that you don't care. We often face a deceptive dilemma in relationships. This insidious trap awaits everyone who has not yet mastered the art of distinguishing genuine emotional intimacy from manipulative pressure. A follower of Stoicism steps back, creating space for reflection. They question their own consciousness. Why should my devotion be measured through suffering? Why must I act against my own wisdom, inner peace, and rational thinking, striving to keep close a person who deprives my soul of the possibility to be free? Authentic feeling is inseparably connected with the concept of freedom. It recognizes and respects the individual boundaries of a person. True love never demands self-deprecation, internal breaking, or renunciation of its own essence. Someone who experiences genuine feelings will never destroy your personality for the sake of asserting their own dominance. A person who truly stands beside you out of love accepts you unconditionally, just as you are. If someone cares more about your actions in their interest rather than your internal state while performing them, this person is guided not by love, but by a thirst for control. Consider, how many times have you performed actions in the name of love and afterward felt inner emptiness? How many times have your lips pronounced agreement when your heart desperately protested? How many times have you acted contrary to your own convictions, just to not lose connection with someone who was the first to stop treating you with proper respect? An adherent of Stoic philosophy does not fear losing those who cannot accept them wholly. They realize that preserving their own integrity is more important than maintaining illusory closeness. They reject reproaches and unspoken pressure contained in the formula, "If you love me, you must." Because real feeling is never expressed through ultimatums. It manifests through the granting of freedom. You possess the inalienable right to live your life without proving your worth to anyone. You have the right to express disagreement, to refuse unnecessary sacrifices, to not suffer for someone else's whim. And if someone decides to leave because of your refusal to submit, this is not a loss, but liberation. To say no in response to such demands is not an expression of cruelty. It is a demonstration of inner strength. It is a sign of maturity. It is a manifestation of self-respect. Each manipulative question is like the finest thread, imperceptibly woven into the fabric of your existence. If this thread is not discovered in time, it begins to constrict you more and more tightly, depriving you of the ability to breathe freely, taking away clarity of thought. The wisdom of Stoicism teaches, you are not obligated to become everything for every person you meet. You were not born to please, sacrifice your own interests, or continuously prove your significance. Your purpose is to live with dignity, to maintain tranquility, to protect your freedom, to exist in harmony with your own nature. Not every voice directed at you deserves an answer. Not every question asked requires your involvement. Not every request should automatically elicit your agreement. Sometimes true strength manifests not in action, but in thoughtful refusal. Not in compliance, but in silent retreat. Not in proofs of love, but in demonstrations of respect for oneself. You have no debt to anyone except the obligation to be honest with yourself. And if someone demands more, you have the complete right to withdraw. Without unnecessary shouting, without feelings of guilt, without tormenting fear, simply with a straight back and clear conscience. Tell me in the comments, what's one time you said yes and instantly regretted it? If you found this video useful, please like it and subscribe to the channel. There are more videos on this channel that will help you become a better version of yourself.